This episode is brought to you by Team Bat versus Team Spear. The zombie apocalypse is upon us, and the age-old HMT debate of which weapon would do better is finally relevant. Let everyone know how smart and or stupid you are by repping a brand new t-shirt available at horrormovietalk.com/shop. These swanky shirts are available in both unisex and feminine cuts, and were designed by our very own Doctor of Sex, Dustin Goebel. Zombies are dangerous, so please arm yourself right away and gain access to the HMT bunker by wearing your Team Bat or Team Spear shirt.
Is this a metal thing?
Yes.
What taste.
David, what is this?
Pretty thick.
Great.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits.
Mistletoe alert.
This is backcountry.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo be pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso.
Horror.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Your panel of expert hosts each week are Dr. Bruce Henson, who holds a PhD in spookology, and me, Professor David Day, the foremost expert in scare no-nos. New theatrical releases usually get priority, and that's gonna kind of change. You're just gonna have to figure it out. All right, we're shooting from the hip. We also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. Today, we've got a fabulous episode for you, my boobies. I mean, really, it's something y'all have been clamoring for more than Halloween. I think this may be the most asked for review of this year, quite frankly. So, today we're going to be reviewing Terrifier 2. But before we get into all that, you guys should check us out at horrormovietalk.com. From there, you get links to our LinkedIn and our, and you know,
He's not lying.
other important places, our subreddit. And you can follow us on YouTube. We are on YouTube. What up? It's Jolioli here coming at you live. And
Hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell. Go on YouTube.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for checking us out on YouTube. We sure do appreciate it. We put on quite a show, and Fart Simpson helps us get everything together. Word to your mom, Fart. I love you, buddy. Big thanks to our new patrons. Check out these sweet names that I'm going to name right away, and great thanks to Horror Movie Talk. We got Caleb. We got Haley S. We got Corey G. His name rhymes with allegory. We also got Michael B. So thank you guys so much for becoming patrons and getting access to all that sweet, sweet digital goodie goods, and probably some stickers and stuff also that we send you with a thank you card. And probably my name spelled wrong. We post new episodes every single Wednesday, so make sure to subscribe. Leave us a nice rating on Apple Podcasts. If you want to give us a call, we'll probably play it on a bonus episode of Horror Movie Horrors, where we, play our voicemails. You can call us at 682-253-4468. With this episode of where we're reviewing Terrifier 2, we're going to start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10. If you don't know how that works, you should probably not be watching this. 10's just really good. There you go. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers, take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about this film. And later in this episode, we will be doing 2 games. We'll be doing Taglines and also Kill Count. Good old fashioned HMT fun. So we have a fun time. Fun. Anyway, so we watched Terrifier 2 and were treated to an homage of to the 80s slashers with a runtime of a Lord of the Rings movie. So without any further ado, here is the trailer.
So, did you figure out what you're dressing up as tomorrow?
He wants to dress up as a real guy who murdered 9 people last year.
Oh, you're not doing that.
It's just a costume.
You think that guy's still out there?
What's up with you and this clown all of a sudden? You're like obsessed.
They never found his body. What if he decides to come back here?
I wouldn't worry about it.
Wait a minute, aren't you that guy from the costume shop?
Sir, what are you doing?
It wasn't me.
He was covered in blood on his shirt and his hands when he got here.
I'm telling you, it was him, Allie. Right down to the little black dot on the tip of his nose.
You're really weird, you know that?
I believe him.
About what? Something really bad's gonna happen tonight.
No, I know when Jonathan's lying, okay? I could hear it in his voice. Something's wrong.
Look, we're gonna have fun. Stress-free environment.
Yep.
Speaking of surprises, kids, we have a very special guest with us today, all the way from Miles County. Please welcome Art the Clown.
A year after his original massacre, Art the Clown, played by David Howard Thornton, returns to terrify Miles County. This time, instead of killing random people, he seems to have an agenda and a renewed sense of humor. Art targets the friends and family of Sienna, played by Lauren Lavera. He is twisted, hateful, and worst of all, inappropriately humorous. As he mutilates kids and adults alike, he kind of helps to bring Sienna's family together, which is as weird as it sounds. My review for Terrifier 2 is this is the third Art the Clown effort by writer-director Damien Leone, who was obviously beaten by his father as a child. I think that it's fair to say that Art the Clown has earned a place among the likes of Michael Myers, Jason, and Freddy, although his brand of slasher is much more horrifically violent and with a kind of through-the-looking-glass feel to the whole thing. Definitely closest to the feel of a Nightmare on Elm Street rendition, kind of dreamlike and kind of a little bit pedo-y. It's very, very strange feel to this whole thing. Terrifier 2 is the longest slasher I've ever seen. It's fucking very long. It's longer than The Return of the Jedi by 20 minutes. Lots could have been left on the editing room floor. This movie has so much extra dialogue and emphasis here, mood scenes, that I question whether or not they were just going for some kind of record. I honestly think that he was just like, I'm going to make the longest slasher ever made. I'm going to do it. I don't care what it takes. Does the runtime make it bad? No.
Yes.
No, it just makes it less good. Terrifier's brand seems to be astonishingly fucked up gore set to slapstick and deadpan comedy. Some of the kill concepts in this are truly gruesome and will never leave your mind. Is this movie good? I don't know. It's not my favorite thing to see horrendous gore, but I have to say, if I'm going to see horrendous gore, I would choose to see it with Art the Clown. He's a pretty funny guy. This is not a real movie to me. This is some sort of attempt at a world record. It's a pretty interesting thing to see. I was interested the whole way through. My wife, who expressed no interest in this movie, was like, okay, but what's next? You know, like she was with it through the whole fucking runtime, which normally she just falls asleep. It pays homage to slashers of old, spelled with an E, and makes me want to ask, what is wrong with kids these days? But that's the whole point, I suppose. If that sounds like a good time to you, you probably don't need to listen to my review. I score this a 6 out of 10. It was fun, very funny in parts. It was interesting to look at. There was some weird shit, and it even had a little bit of an allegory thing going on inside of it, which is more than you get in most slashers. But it was so long. It was so long. Yeah, just a broken family due to alcoholism, I guess. Sort of. There's a bit of a beating, a beaten child thing going on here. But it's clumsy. I mean, it's ham-handed, but I wouldn't expect anything less from a Terrifier movie except for clumsy and ham-handed. So I don't know. It wasn't horrible. I had a weird time with it, and that's what I expect from horror movies, especially slashers. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm shocked that you scored it so high. I thought you would take off several points for the runtime.
I did.
It's egregious how long it is. It's comically long, and I think most of my taglines probably have to do with how long it is. But it's weird. Like, it genuinely makes it a worse movie because just from a filmmaking aspect, it's so inefficient. Like, so much could be cut down that's just common sense stuff. Like, you don't have to restate the purpose of the scene or the conversation 5 times before you move on. You don't have to, like, cover the same material 3 times in 3 different scenes. Like, if you're trying to do a dream sequence, don't do it linearly with like lingering shots. It's like, I don't know. It just shows I admire the work of independent filmmakers, and like, it's a genuine accomplishment to be able to make a movie like this and get it in theaters. Like, that's impressive and good on them. But man, Damien Leone just really lacks creativity in his directing style. Or that, I don't know who to blame, the director or the editor, but it's pretty rough just from like a film theory perspective.
What he lacks in filmmaking style, he makes up for in gruesome, horrific, and real life special effects.
Right. There's the good things about the movie are the practical effects. They go all in on practical effects. I think it said 99% of the effects are practical, and the few times they use CG, it's to good effect. And you can't really tell. It just makes it a little more impressive. The gore is great. This is the first time I've seen a Terrifier, the first time I've seen Art the Clown, and I get it. I'm like, yeah, that's a great character. He's
a fabulous character.
Yeah, a mime clown, like, just mugging, no dialogue from him. It's disturbing, great design, and a genuinely good character. And yeah, I get why it works, and I haven't seen any of the other ones, so I can't speak to whether this is better or worse than them, but yeah, it just dragged on forever. And you could see what was coming a mile down the track. It's like, It's not very subtle. It's not a movie for incredibly intelligent people.
Whoa. What?
Are you fucking stupid?
It's there's so much hand holding in the dialogue. Like, it's like, oh, this is for very dumb people that need to be told everything.
I don't think no. There's another possibility there, and I think your smugness is showing a little bit. The possibility there is that very dumb people were editors for it. No shade here. No shade here.
Well, and writers and directors. Like, it's here's my example. I was going to hold this for the spoilers, but here's my example of very inefficient dialogue that just shows like, oh, this is targeting a certain group of people that needs a little hand-holding. There's the mother, after there's the fire, she says a line where she says, hold on. Oh, spontaneously combusted out of thin air.
I guess so.
I'm like, okay, that's redundant because, and I was like, oh, wait, they can't say just spontaneously combusted because dumb people won't know what that means. They have to say out of thin air so that they know that spontaneous means out of thin air. So it's either like not having faith in people to know words or it's just bad writing. Either way, like, it's,
well, no shade.
It doesn't have a lot of faith in the audience to figure things out. Let's just say that.
No, it does not. No shade to be thrown here, but our competitors produced this over at Bloody Disgusting. So I mean, depending on where you fall in this movie, you might absolutely love Bloody Disgusting and their outlet for horror. Or you might think they create horror for dum-dums if you're Bryce. Is that fair?
I'm impressed that you think that they're a competitor. They're a giant brand. I think they have multiple podcasts, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're a whole network.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, no shade. Like, I'll take it back. It's not saying like this is not a movie for smart people isn't fair. Smart people can appreciate dumb movies, and I appreciate a lot of this movie, but I can't give it more than a 4. Like, I was looking at the time code a lot through this movie, and like, even though anytime the art was on the screen, it was interesting. Like, you can't not watch him, and the gore was effective and it was visceral and it was cool. Everything with the surrounding story was so boring, poorly written, a lot of the time poorly acted, and it was just a trudge to the finish line.
Hey, fair enough. Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, it didn't really feel like a real movie to me. It kind of felt like it was so strange. It was like a fever dream. It was very different. So I get it, and I don't think our scores are that far off. I just thought the comedy in it was pretty brilliant. Like, the moments that are supposed to be fun and funny in this are hilarious. And it does capture this thing of like how things like so, I mean, without getting into too much spoilers right now, it does capture the definite feeling of how a drunk dad can go from being fun, cool guy 1 minute to totally outrageous, completely inappropriate, gruesome killer, like very, very quickly. It's just like, oh, it's just snip snap. It's very quick. And so I guess I might have some extra appreciation for it in that, for no particular reason. Anywho, yeah, so there you go. Terrifier 2. It's a long movie. But you do have a fast forward button on your Fire Stick remote there. So it's available over on Screenbox right now for streaming, and you can just get yourself a little 7-day free trial over there. Anywho, if you're listening to these commercials, you should know that you don't have to. Hooray! No more commercials if you sign up to our Patreon over on patreon.com/horror movie talk. And from there, you get access to a bunch of different options. We record even reviews that are exclusive to Patreon at a certain level. You can vote on one movie a month for us to watch. You can get access to commercial-free content and the Afterpod, which is a whole nother podcast that we record following this one. So head on over there, check it out. It helps support the show. It helps us grow. It helps us support the people who do work on the show. And we sure do appreciate you for doing that. You can also support the show by heading over to our horrormovietalk.com/shop. Picking up yourself one of these Team Bat shirts. You want to get the bat. You definitely want to get the bat shirt. It's the best one. And they were created by our resident artist, Dustin Goebel, who is a professional artist. And he also just happens to fuck really hard, like really, really hard, like alarmingly hard. They say his dick is made of Teflon. So that should give you an idea of the friction that he is capable of.
Or incapable of, you mean?
What's that?
Incapable of. Teflon.
No. It has to be coated in Teflon just so he can maintain those speeds.
Right.
You know, that
just
hardness.
the heat of reentry. It's just like, they sometimes it's too much. He's been thinking about covering it in that ceramic that covers the space shuttle.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the ceramic tiles. Yeah. That no, I hear you. And when one flies off, like his dick will explode upon reentry. Like
if you know what I mean.
Yeah, tell him HMT sent you when you hire him to, I don't know, draw dicks for you or something. Call us at 682-253-4468. Thank you again for listening, and let's get into spoilers. Spoilers.
Before we get too far, just want to give a plug for anyone watching on YouTube to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. And if you're not on YouTube, go to YouTube and subscribe and ring that bell. I don't know why I need to say that.
Bryce, what were the series of emotions you felt when you knew we were going to watch this movie?
Most of all, I was like, wondering if you actually wanted to watch it. Because Fart invited us to watch it with him on Zoom, and then you told me we were going to do Terrifier 2, and so I assumed like you were doing it because Fart wanted to watch it and you're going to have him on the show. And yeah, I asked you and you said, a little from column A, a little from column B about obligation versus actually wanting to do it. But it is technically a new release. It's one of these new releases that kind of slipped by us.
Yeah.
It just came out last month. I was a little curious about it. There's definitely been some buzz about it in the community. And I don't know much about Terrifier, but it feels like I get mixed reviews. It's either people think it's really cool or they think it's just too much. And I think it's one of those things where people that don't like horror, this is what they think. This is what they think horror is like, oh, it's gory violence just for the sake of gory violence. And like, yeah, that's kind of what this is. Like, that's kind of the purpose of the movie. And it in that aspect, it did exceed my expectations. There is a little bit more to it, but not much really. I was impressed that they tried to make, a movie around the selling point of just the horrific gore, but they're so bad at doing that part. it's not that impressive.
I mean, it's on par with some, shitty Friday the 13th Halloween Freddy effort, except for the fact that it drags it out really long. Fart offered to watch this with us digitally, and that brought my attention to the fact that it is streaming now, and I unfortunately I couldn't watch it with you guys because I needed to watch it earlier so that I could get the review ready on Friday, yada yada. But yeah, how did Fart end up liking it? I'm sure he probably had a lot of nostalgia feels for it.
What did he say? I think he gave it a score of like, I can't remember what a score was.
Yeah, don't put words in his mouth.
I think he liked it. It was just too long, I think. I don't know. I can't put words into Fart's mouth.
This is a really interesting movie because it's so good at what it's good at. Like, the thing that it's really good at is being weird and off-putting and funny and horrendously violent, and like the best practical effects you've maybe ever seen for up close gore. Like, it's and just being over the top. I mean, it's great at those things. It's a 10 out of 10 on those things. And then it's so bad at the things that it's bad at. Like, it's great at the stuff that it's the best at, and it's terrible at the stuff that it's not good at. And so it leaves you with this, which is kind of how this movie should be. I mean, it's this super extreme version of movie. It's like, here's a movie. The good parts are good, and the bad parts, boo. Like, just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it's really interesting what they try to do with it, and it's admirable. Like, especially tonally. Tonally, it's really interesting, and there's a lot of hit and misses around what they try to do there in terms of, like, Art is a hit anytime he's on screen. Like, you get it. He's mugging for the camera. He's terrifying. And anytime they try to do like dreamlike stuff, it's like, that's not how you do that. Like, it doesn't land very well, but you kind of understand what they're going for. And then anytime they try to do like, portraying human people, it fails. You're like, that's not how human people act. That's impressively bad. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's all true. I kind of was struck with, very early on. So I have seen the first Terrifier. I haven't seen All Hallows Eve, which is where Art shows up first. But Terrifier was a much simpler, more bare bones version of that. Like, it was playing to all Damien Leon's strengths, right? Which is just like horrendous concepts and gore, and making a just straight ahead slasher. Yeah, end of list. Like, that's all it was. There was no story, none, zero. I do mean that. There was zero story. There wasn't even a script. It was just a guy following horrible, terrorized victims through a warehouse, and then slaughtering them. Spoilers. That was all it was, really, if I recall correctly. Like, it's been a couple years. I think I watched it when it came out. And it definitely left a much worse taste in your mouth than this one, just because it did seem so senseless. Like, it was just nothing but horrendous gore. So this one feels a little bit more like a movie, but just a little bit more like a movie. And god damn, is it so long. Like, it's approaching Fellowship of the Ring lengths here. Like, and this is a basic slasher.
This made me, like, my jaw drop. Was in the trivia in IMDb, it mentions that there's an uncut version of Terrifier 2.
Of
like,
this?
I can't imagine
of this movie?
Yes. What could be left? I told Fart, I think I stole this from Adam Carolla. I said, the only thing that hit the editing room floor for this movie was the editor's shoes. No.
And there's the blockage.
No cuts were made.
Sausage. It is. It's like a big sausage of shit.
Big sausage of shit is what they cut out of this.
It says it's almost an hour longer than its predecessor, 57 minutes longer than Terrifier, and Terrifier 2 being 2 hours, 18 minutes long. The uncut version is considerably longer.
I just can't believe that. I just can't believe that. I mean, because, okay, so on Patreon, we do Patreon exclusives once a month. Last month, our Patreon exclusive was another independent horror movie released 2015 called They Look Like People. And that, at about the halfway point of this movie, of Terrifier 2, I looked at the time code, and we were past how long They Look Like People was. We were only halfway through Terrifier 2. They Look Like People was explaining a complex concept of potentially losing your mind or being in a war against unknown forces. This is just a guy cutting people up.
Yeah. I went on the Reddit subreddit, the our horror, and there was a thread covering Terrifier 2, and there were people defending the length that were like, I don't see what you could take out. It all was necessary to set up like all this stuff. And I'm like,
what could you take out, Bryce? Honestly,
so many scenes. But yeah, I had to respond to that comment. I responded to it on Reddit. But like, number one, the major thing is it's just super inefficient with the scenes. Like, it just states the same thing over and over and over again in the scene. Like, a scene serves a purpose to move the story forward or establish a fact that will be important later. And they do that like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 7 times before they move on to the next scene. And so that is like, okay, you need to cut that out, like chop down the script, first of all, for any of this talking scenes. 2, like stuff like dreamlike sequences where it's supposed to portray kind of an alternate reality, like they completely squander the effect because of the lingering shots. And that whole dream sequence looks like they're like shooting a commercial or a children's show or something like that. They sing an entire song, like the song. I'm just like, do they need to do the whole song? And then like there's all these lingering cuts on like what each of the kids are doing and how they each get this thing, and then what they do and how they react for each actor's face over and over and over again. And then it like shows some disturbing gore or something intermittently, and it just dwells on it. And it's like that part in particular, if you want an example of how to do that kind of up like unsettling horror really well. Like playing against type, where it's like, oh, this is a fun kids show, or this is a fun commercial, but there's something wrong here. Like, I love the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared shorts on YouTube. And that's like specifically what they were going for. And they did it so much worse that it was distracting to me, to where it's like, it's almost a carbon copy, because it's like, yeah, it's like a happy kids show. They're singing, but then they're cutting to like disturbing imagery, but dwelling on it. And it's like, there's a way to like meld those in a super disturbing way that they just didn't do. And so that's another way to cut it up, just because like, look at like David Lynch and how he treats dreamlike sequences and logic and stuff. So a lot of creative cuts could be made there. And then another like example of just scenes that could be cut. Remember when the mother gets her car TP'd by the brother? There's a scene, first scene, she sees the car, freaks out, and she's like, oh my God, what? Oh my God. And that takes forever, that scene. It dwells on it forever. Cuts to another scene, cuts to her calling Sienna and telling her about how shocked she is that her car was TP'd, and oh my God. And she's like, she has to clean it up. Yeah. And then it cuts to another scene with Sienna and what she's doing. And then it cuts back to mom. Oh my God. And then she reveals that Art's inside the car.
And then he shoots her in the face, Bryce. And then after he shoots her in the face, he takes her, like sets her up on a chair, her mush like shotgun face, and then he crams mashed potatoes into her face.
Right.
And this is his ex-wife, supposedly. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here that you're not.
Sure. I mean, well, that happens afterwards. But those three scenes,
complex.
Those three overly long scenes could have been cut to one scene where she sees the car as she's reacting, calls Sienna and tells her, and then when she hangs up, reveals Art. Like, that could be done in a scene that could be 15 seconds long. As opposed to three scenes that take up like 3 minutes.
What I'm hearing is, are you offering doing
a fan edit?
Yeah, would you offer your services to Damien Leone?
No. I wouldn't be. I probably wouldn't be good at it, but I can tell you, like, just watching movies, you can tell how to do things better,
I think you'd be good at it. I think you'd be real good at it. You could punch that up real good, it sounds like.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if someone makes a fan edit of this that just speeds it up, takes away a lot of the dialogue and stuff.
I'm not gonna. I don't think this movie lends itself to going through it beat by beat. So instead, let's talk about concepts and kills and these kinds of things that stuck out to us. The first of which we need to get out of the way here. I think I'm going to leave my wife because I think Lauren Lavera loves me very much, and she cares deeply about me and I her. And she's kind of like an angel, like a warrior angel in my eyes. And so I think it's important that we be together. What do you think about that?
I think that Lauren Lavera is a talented performer, and I respect her as a woman.
Me too.
And I'm going to just say that because I've been accused of misogyny, and I don't think I can talk anymore about it.
Well, she loves me. I'm convinced of it. I will haunt her and stalk her down and let her know how I feel about her directly. And not in off-putting ways, in very honest ways. So FYI, Lauren, I love you. Oh, man, I feel so good to get that off my chest.
Okay, good. Lauren, if you're watching, we'd love to have you on the podcast. I know that you'd love to come on because obviously you love David.
I'm not single, but I will be single for you.
Mm-hmm. I think another aspect, I haven't seen like the first Terrifier, but I think a unique thing is that in this one you get 2 Terrifiers.
Yeah,
because there's the little girl.
Yeah, double the terror, double the fire. Yeah, yeah. The little girl. You got
that
Art.
Does nothing.
Yeah, no, she doesn't do anything. Although, they really, there's this element of this movie that's just like, boy, I guess I would liken it to the energy of a 7-year-old boy. That's just like, look at me, 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 look at me. And then when you look at them, they're like, they realize they got to up the ante. And so they just fucking pull their dick out or something like that. They're just like, the most, just it's like all this, like, look at me energy of like, I'll do whatever it takes to have your attention. And it's crazy to see it in a movie format with a little girl playing this weird fucked up clown and then like piss blood all over the floor. It's just like, like you're constantly just barrage. There's this barrage of just totally inappropriate, fucked up gore and concepts. Just like, woo, this is a little girl peeing blood. Oh my God. What is it supposed to be?
I don't think it was blood. I think it was poop. I'm pretty sure it was poop. Diarrhea. I mean, me and Fart agreed that it was poop.
Ew. Okay, but my God. I mean,
block drain.
It's just a block drain of grossness.
Block drain.
Yeah, it never slows down with that kind of stuff. It's just, well, I guess it does slow down a lot with all the dialogue then.
yeah, it does. But it does slow down.
But when it does show you the weird stuff, you're like, oh my gosh. And also another weird theme of this movie that struck me was, okay, so it really kind of felt a lot like A Nightmare on Elm Street, like the vibes of that. The grown-ups in this are so angry, like all of them. Like the teachers are just like, get back here, I'm gonna, and then the mom's like, these fucking kids, I'm gonna, and it's just like, it feels, that's why I said, it feels like Damien Leon has been, was beaten by his father as a child, because it's just like, oh, this is somebody's weird childhood experience that's like, that's just too much. It just feels like that exaggerated world that you experienced as a kid of like all the emotions being too much,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially the mother, the Sienna's mother, it's so one note, and she's probably the worst part of the movie, like just because she's overacting so heavily.
What are you, fucking stupid?
I don't blame her 100% for it because the script is bad. Like it doesn't give her anything to work with, but also she is like chomping on the scenery anytime she's in the scene. And I mean, it's really like gives contrast to like how well Lauren Lavera did as Sienna, and even Elliot Fullman as Jonathan. Like those 2 young actors are pretty good in this movie. Like in terms of like executing this kind of ham-handed dialogue and having it pretty simple. Like they're okay for their age.
Yeah, but there is some question as to our leading lady, Lauren Lavera. She did not feel very young to me. And I was like, which is an interesting thing because this movie, like, you know, a lot of movies, you'll get like the teenagers played by 30-year-old people. And a lot of the teenagers in this movie are played by teens, real teens. Whereas the older teenagers in this, like Lauren as Sienna, she's just, I mean, first of all, she's just gorgeous and she has very good skin. And so it's very hard to tell. It's very hard to place her. And also she doesn't list her age anywhere. And in fact, there's one article out there by some, I don't know, sketchy thing that says she's like 44. And I'm not going to lie, she's got the voice of a much older person, but she'd know 44. So yeah, that part kind of threw me for a loop because it just I'm not sure how old she actually is in real life, Lauren Lavera, but I would like to know. So I don't know. It doesn't list it on IMDb. She's very pretty.
I mean, she does not look 40. There's no possible way she'd be 40. But it says that she's had 19 plus years of martial arts experience.
Right. I mean, that could start when you're 5, though, right? So at least 25, you know, maybe.
Right. I would put her in her early 20s. She doesn't look 30.
No, she doesn't. But I mean, she does
David,
have.
Look at her. She's looking at you.
I know. Well, I know that.
I mean, she's saying, David, come hither.
I have one of those wallpapers that changes and it's just her staring at me all the time.
Ooh, that's. Yeah. She just saw you to her side. She's like, David. Hey, how are you?
How are you? You know, I got a vasectomy, but snip, snap, snip, snap. You know, I'll definitely undo that for Lauren. So yeah, okay. Now let's talk about art. Okay, because he's the best part of this movie, aside from Sienna, aside from Lauren. Every time he comes on screen, you know, it just, your attention is just like, what's he gonna do? Oh, is it gonna be funny? And then when it's funny, it's very funny. Like, it's like that aspect of it is so good. How he's like, he plays these funny bits, and then he brutally murders you. Like,
yeah, probably the best like overall scene for art is inside the costume shop. Yeah, because it's the full range. It's him being just kind of off-putting and being around and looking at you.
Yeah.
And then there's like the scenes where he's like where he's like trying on the glasses and like the noisemakers and stuff, where he's just goofing around, and he's just a clown, you know?
Yeah. It's the most fun I've ever had in a slasher are these scenes.
He's a clown with real bad teeth. And then it transitions to, you know, the, you know, serial killer where he kills the store clerk. And yeah, you see the full range, and it's all effective. Like, it all lands well.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, see, that was one of my big beefs with the new It movies, is that no matter how good Bill Skarsgård did, he never lands being a clown as Pennywise. Like, he never quite, even when he's acting like a clown, it feels like it's the most terrifying clown you've ever met.
No, I'm starting to see what you mean. You're saying he's a scary thing first and a clown far second, whereas Art is a psychopathic clown, period.
Right.
Got it. Well, I mean, I think, but though I think that's a preferential thing on your part, because
yeah, definitely. I mean,
because Pennywise isn't a clown, right? I mean, first and foremost, he's some sort of weird world-eating thing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think
he's a clown.
Well, yeah. I mean, first and foremost, like, yeah, he's an entity, but like in the form of Pennywise, he's supposed to be a clown first. I mean, if we're gonna, so okay, let's take a minute and compare clowns. So we've got Tim Curry as Pennywise, we got Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, and we've got Art the Clown. Tim Curry is probably the best at being on the surface a clown. Like, he's full on clown and then can be terrifying. Like, and he's terrifying while he looks exactly like a clown. Like, it's not, the design of the clown looks like a clown. You know, it's someone you could see at a birthday party, except they're murdering people, or have like, or turn into a monster. Art is a really disturbing looking actual clown. Like, he is a clown, but the design is to be off-putting. Like, there's no way you could look at his like yellow jagged teeth and like the black around his mouth and eyes and
the protruding like facial features that make him look extra like gaunt.
Right. And like the big hook nose and the pointy chin. Like, he looks like a witch in clown makeup, you know. He looks like the Wicked Witch of the West put on clown makeup. But he also straddles the line between acting like a clown and being a terrifying guy, you know. And then Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise was just the full on terrifying clown. Like, just the design of it looked terrifying. There was no way you could see that clown and be like, yeah, he looks like he could go to a birthday party, you know? And I mean, I guess it's similar to Art's design in that way, but like, even when he was trying to act clown-like, it was always menacing. Like, there was never, I don't remember any scenes that were significant where he was like acting like a friendly, nice clown. Like, even when he's talking to Georgie in the sewer, or he's talking to that little girl under the bleachers in 2, like, it's always like, ooh, that kid should not trust that kid because he's acting really disturbing. Whereas like Tim Curry in the sewer looks like it's just a clown stuck in a sewer. And that's what's off-putting, you know. It's the juxtaposition of, well, an actual birthday party clown shouldn't be hanging around in sewers, but a kid doesn't understand that, you know.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point. I want to talk a little bit about some of these kills. They were okay. So the one that there's 2 that really just truly just stick out so much for me. One is Allie, Sienna's friend, answers the door on Halloween, and then just gets just brutally tortured and murdered. And when you think it's when the horrendous violence that's being done to this girl finally ends, you're like, oh my God, like, oh, I got a breather. And she's like sitting there gasping in pain, and you think it's done. And then and this is where I give it extra points. But stop that. This is where I give it extra points, because when you, as the audience, think, I'm getting a breather now, he comes running back into the room with bleach and salt and pours it all over her. And at that moment, I was like, I couldn't help but laugh, because I was like, oh, this is the most insane version of a slasher I've ever seen. Like, he's willing to go into the other room, get some bleach, get some salt, and be like, like that, does that hurt more? And then she's sitting in that bed.
I think you might be confusing. I think who you're describing is Tara. The friend was Tara, because the other one was the one that got, the boyfriend was killed in the car.
Oh, okay.
I think the one that, yeah, her friend that.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Saw him at the door. I think she just gave him candy and he left.
Sure. The names in this are all interchangeable and unnecessary. But suffice it to say, this girl sitting in the bed with half of her face ripped off, and then she cries for mom, and you just like, this is the most horrendously fucked up thing I've ever seen. In terms of like, just visual kills. Like, this was so gross, even for veterans. Like, this is. I can't imagine showing this to somebody who hasn't seen a horror movie. Like, it's just too much.
Yeah, I mean that was like probably the pinnacle of the amount of gore that you can do, because it was just mangling a body horrendously, and the movie keeps her alive just for the sole purpose of making it more disturbing. That was one of the few instances of CG to where they had that body, like the mangled body, like set up as kind of a marionette on the set, and then they used digital effects to put the actress's real eyeball on the dummy, so when she wakes up the eye opens. And that's similarly when the store clerk, his head gets cut off and like his head is pulled off, they use digital effects to overlay his face on it. So like those moments were like, okay, yeah, that's when you use CG because it adds to it. You're like, I don't know how they did that, but that actually looks pretty real, that dummy. Yeah, I mean, this is another reason why it could have benefited from better editing, because there are moments when they're dwelling on the practical effects where it stops being realistic, or they show it too long, where it's like, okay, if you want to see the tubes and stuff that are starting to pour out the blood, like, look close on these scenes because you'll probably be able to see them. But yeah, I like the gore was so over the top where it's just basically, it makes you believe that the human body is just a series of blood bags. It's just, you cut the human body anywhere on its body and it will just start spewing forth like a geyser.
Ugh. The other one that was just so, it might stick with me to the same degree as the mom being shot in the face with a shotgun, and then him cramming mashed potatoes into just this mush like of a face. That was so gross, but also like I laughed. Like I was like, okay, all right, like, whoa, oh wow, all right, that's a lot.
I felt like most of the gore in the movie, like I felt like a psychopath because it didn't affect me whatsoever. But then the ones where they did do quick cuts, or it was like, there were some moments that were actually really effective. Like when Tara is getting attacked and he like hacks off her leg or arm or something, or like twists her arm back and like cracks it in half. Like that stuff is like, Jesus. And when he's just stabbing the guy in the dick, I mean, I don't think any man could not feel that a little bit. So most of the gore for me, like, kind of like, it has zero effect, but there were moments where it was like, okay, that was pretty good. So for you, like, did you feel dead to the gore at all, or was it all visceral for you?
Yeah, I felt, I mean, like there's a lane of movie that this is very similar to, which is like shock and gore from the 80s, like Frankenhooker and just these really kind of like borderline unknown movies that are just so horrendously over the top and kind of exploitational. it was pretty easy for most of, I mean, seen so much, I mean, Human Centipede 2 is grosser than this, I'd say, because it feels kind of real, and it's supposed to, and it's kind of in black and white, although it is kind of similar lane of like kind of joke, kind of over the top. I don't know. I'm dead to a lot of it, but I mean, nevertheless, there were moments where I couldn't help but feel like grossed out. Like it's good at what it does.
Yeah. I think you make a note in here that, and I think you've mentioned, and I think I disagree with you. Like you're saying that Art is Sienna's dad,
mm-hmm.
and I don't think it actually says that in the movie. I think her dad was making.
No, Allie said that. Yeah, Allie. No, Allie. Yeah, no, it is insinuated. She said.
I think eventually it's established that he's not Art the clown, but he was like basically prophesying through his drawings because he knew that Sienna was the only one that could defeat him. But I don't think it meant that he was actually Art the clown. I might have missed it though, if they actually said that.
Because Allie went, said, oh, Sienna's dad, he was a totally normal, super cool guy. And then like he started drinking, like he got into that whiskey and then he drove off and there was a mention, she's mentioned Miles County, and crashed, was never seen again. And then Art showed up, so it's insinuated, I feel like, and it does feel like to me that the whole thing is a little bit of an allegory for, a parent who is an alcoholic and just is tremendously violent, which a lot of people have experienced. But yeah, I might be wrong on that. I don't know, but I definitely like my version, so I'm going to stick with it. But yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's just about the end of anything I have to say about this movie, really.
At the threat of being called a misogynist again, like, we see a decapitated penis, but could they just show just a hint of an areola once? Is that too much to ask?
I think it is too much to ask because they wanted to play this in theaters. I don't know, but I think this got an R rating somehow. So yeah, let me check on that. No, not rated. This isn't even rated. But I think what they were trying to do there was go for avoid basically being rated X.
Well, you can show it. You can show a tit and still be rated R. You can show a tit on a PG-13 movie. Titanic had tits.
Yeah, but it's an escalation thing, like it's a checkbox that how it is. Mm-hmm. It's a checkbox thing. Once you get, you can have terrific violence and get an R. But as soon as you add a boob or a vagina into the mix,
well, it's not rated, so that theory doesn't hold true. I think they knew if they were to go to the ratings board, this would probably get an X just for the violence.
I don't know that it would. I don't know that it would. That's one of the biggest criticisms of the ratings board is that you can show endless amounts of violence, but as soon as something has some like loving sex in it, then it gets an X rating. So I don't know, but it is a weird omission, and I would bet that extended cut you mentioned has plenty of that. I would bet, but I don't know. So there it is. If this sounds like a good time to you, it will be. And if it sounds terrible and like it's not up your alley, then it won't be. But I will say, Art is he is iconic. He is iconic. Yeah, let's get into taglines. Taglines. It's taglines. This is a little bit where we think up funny, stupid, cringy taglines to go along with the movie that we just reviewed. This is a long-term staple bit, so bear with us here. I have 3. How many do you have?
I have a lot, but I think I actually said a bunch of these jokes through the review, so...
Okay. Then you should go first.
Terrifier 2. It's bad news when the clown isn't the biggest overactor.
Terrifier 2. The last time you saw this much blood, it was at your cousin's botched bris.
Terrifier 2. You know that scene where the fire starts in Sienna's room? She almost becomes burnt sienna.
I don't get it.
Like the color, the crayon color.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very nice. A little bit of Crayola humor for you. Terrifier 2. You just know someone somewhere is sitting down to watch this with their 7-year-old. Dude,
my God.
Some of these fucking Facebook groups, these horror themed Facebook groups, people like pridefully announce that they're like sitting down to watch Martyrs with their like 4-year-old child. And they're like, you didn't blink once. It's like, yeah, his eyes are basically stapled shut or stapled open.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Terrifier 2. The horror movie equivalent to the joke The Aristocrats.
Yeah, it is. It's the aristocrat joke. Ugh. Yeah, it truly is. It's just that. Okay, so this is my final tagline, and this is more of an homage to The Simpsons. This is the writers for the movie for Terrifier 2, okay? And they're sitting around and they're thinking about, like, you know, how can we make this better? And this is Art the Clown in the writer's room. I've been doing some thinking, and I've got some ideas to improve the movie. I got it right here. 1, Art needs to be louder and angrier, and he needs to have access to a time machine. 2, whenever Art isn't on screen, everyone in the movie should be asking, "Where's Art?" It's just Homer's idea for Poochie.
Yeah.
Where's Poochie?
Art's got batitude. Is that it?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. I got one last one.
Okay.
Terrifier 2. Lord of the Rings has the most drawn-out ending ever. Terrifier 2. Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
The ending was so long. Like, it was 40 fucking minutes.
40 minutes. I'm glad you noticed that too. It was like, because I took note. It was like, okay, we're entering the fun house. We have 40 minutes left. Oh my God. Yeah, it was a slog. It was a bit of a slog. Is that all you got?
That's all I got. Okay.
So our next game is another older game. Some people have been clamoring for the old games, so here they are. Kill Count is a little game where we pit. In this version of Kill Count, we're going to be pitting horror slasher baddies against each other. I think we've done this very game in the past, but I'm sure you've forgotten, and it will be interesting to a whole new set of listeners. So
wait, we can't go without doing the intro.
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
10,
No.
11, 12, 1, 1, 2, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 4, 6, 7, 36.
It's kill count.
46, 47, 48, 49, 50.
I want to crawl into a hole and die. Why did you do that? That's the most cringy intro we have. We have a better one. We have the real kill count. We redid it.
Did we?
Every time you do this, I don't know if you're feigning ignorance or if you just don't know. I think you just don't know. So in this game of kill count, I'm going to be pitting slasher baddies against each other, and Bryce is going to have to determine which one has the higher kill count. I tried to pit similar baddies against each other or with similar kill counts, so it's going to be kind of close. So feel free to play along out there in the audience and see if you can do better than Bryce does. Okay. Are you ready, Bryce?
I'm ready.
Our first pairing is Freddy Krueger versus Ghostface. We got two Wes Craven baddies going head to head. Which one do you think has more kills? And by the way, these numbers are updated to 2022 standards, FYI.
Yeah. It's kind of deceptive because you assume that they have a lot, but I know in Nightmare on Elm Street there's only like 2 kills or something like that, or like 3. There's not a lot of murders in it. But
I'm talking about over the span of their all the movies, right?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with Ghostface.
Ooh, okay.
Well, wait, we're up to like Scream 4 now, right? How many Screams are there?
I think we just had the 5th one. No, we just had 5.
Okay, I'll go with Freddy then.
Oh, okay. Changing it up.
Yeah,
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did change it because that's correct.
Yay!
Just barely. Freddy has a total of 42 kills, and Ghostface has a total of 40. So only 2. Just Freddy just eking by there. Okay. Our second pairing is Death from the Final Destination movies versus Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. So who do you think wins this? I mean, Death versus Ghostface? You can't get this pairing anywhere else. This is a Horror Movie Talk exclusive.
Wait, Death versus Ghostface or Death versus Leatherface?
Leatherface.
I'm gonna say Death, because Final Destination is just a series of a lot of deaths. Like, yeah, that's all it is.
It's the whole thing.
Leatherface, like, I don't know. I guess I haven't seen all the movies, but I don't think there's that many movies.
Football in the groin, head football in the groin.
Yeah.
Interesting. No, it's good. It's good. Solid logic, right? Because Death is Death, but Death can't keep up with Leatherface. Yeah, Death only has 45 kills to his name, and Leatherface a solid 11 more. We got 56 kills across the TCM movies there. So sorry, you only have 1 point. 1 for 2. All right. The next pairing is we have Chucky from Child's Play versus Leprechaun from Leprechaun. We haven't watched a lot of either of these. I think we've only watched one of both of these movies in review for the show. So I can see you being in the dark on this, and it wouldn't surprise me. In your free time, did you watch any of these, back in the day as a kid? Or maybe the Leprechaun
I've seen a couple.
movies?
I think I've seen a couple Child's Plays.
Oh, okay.
I've only seen Lep in the Hood, though.
Lep in the Hood, and he's up to no good.
I'm gonna say, oh man, this is rough because Chucky has some. Okay, wait. So are we including like the TV show too?
Oh, I believe so. Hang on. Let me just do some research. Find out where I got these numbers from, and
because if it includes the TV show, it's like Chucky hands down.
Yeah, let's see here.
Leprechaun in the Hood, like he's only got I don't know. I assume just a couple movies. How many? That can't be right though.
It says the series of movies, but I think it's just including the movies. So where I got this from is probably just including the movies.
Okay, I had very little faith in Full Moon Productions' ability to, or whatever production company it is, to pump out Leprechaun movies because he's got a lot of movies.
A lot of Leprechaun
I'm going to say
movies.
Leprechaun. I'm going to go with Leprechaun then.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but no. Yeah, Chucky definitely pulls this one out. He has 71 kills to his name versus Lep, who's only got 58. So a good spread, 13, Okay. All right, now we're into the big leagues here. This is the final question, so you can just tie it up. I didn't have a tiebreaker. I'm sorry. If you tie it up, I'll give you the W. So here we got Jason Voorhees, of course, from the Friday the 13th movies versus Michael Myers from the Halloween series. And this is updated to include ends, I do believe. No, this does not include ends. This includes up to kills.
Yeah. I'm going to say Jason.
So, keeping in mind that this is up to kills, you are correct. Jason squeaks by with 158 kills. He's been the top dog for a long time. Versus Michael at 156. So there's only a 2-kill spread between the two. However, given that ends has occurred, Michael probably squeaks by because there hasn't been a Friday the 13th movie in over 10 years now. So if we were playing, an updated version, you'd be wrong, but you took into account the fact that we weren't. So you did it. You pulled out the W. Congratulations, Bryce. You won this week's kill count. How does it make you feel?
Thank you. Put a lot of hard work into it.
Bravo, bravissimo. Hey, if you guys would let us know how you did on that, that'd just be great. We'd just really appreciate that a lot. And you can do so by heading on over to our YouTube channel. Of course, you can in leaving a comment down.
Hit that subscribe button.
Down in the
Ring
comment
that
section
bell.
below. That's right.
Leave a comment.
That's right. Never gets old. Never gets old. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening to our show or watching our show. We really appreciate it. Make sure to share it with a friend if you haven't already. We really love new listeners, and so thank you. And if you want to support the show, you can do so by heading over to our website, clicking one of the two buttons at the top. So either says take me to Amazon or take me to Patreon. Both of those are great ways to support the show, and we appreciate you doing it. Special thanks to Bart Simpson, Dustin Goebel, and Mark. Oh, hi, Mark, for helping out the show on such a consistent basis. You guys are the wind beneath our wings. Thank you very much. If you'd like to give us a call, do so at 682-253-4468. Stay tuned for that bonus horrors episode or voicemail episode, and have a great week. We love you. Bye.
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 Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing. Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is.
I just took a stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face.
Horror.
Wow, that didn't sound good.
Oh, Lauren.